So maybe you see in 5 minutes or 10 minutes enormous amounts of trading that's going on. That's computer generated. Now, in order to protect the public, to keep them asleep, what they do is they have the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank, has 8 members on the floor of the stock exchange. They call them the plunge committee. And that the idea is if it starts to plunge too fast, they can go in and buy, 1,000 shares of some company in order to prevent the continuation of the plunge, so the American people don't run away, if you want to call it, and dump all the stuff that they have. Of course, my advice to everybody right now is get out of the game. You don't have to play it anymore. Get out of the stock market. Unfortunately, most people's retirement accounts are all in the stock market, and the whole thing is rigged. The whole thing is set up in order to take care of this, what they call sheep, if you want to call them, the people out here that are being led to slaughter currently. Now that's to give you now. This is a world situation. It's not just a meltdown for now. The entire world's involved with this thing. Meanwhile, the dollar is basically the same as what the rest of the world. I do a lot of world traveling. United States is becoming the most hated country in the world. And so if you're going to travel someplace, you call your travel agent and ask them to go to where the country that hates us the least. Because that's basically what is going on right now. And it isn't the people in the United States, it's the dollar, because we have created this incredible society based on debt. We borrow money from this created entity, the banks, the Federal Reserve, which is the Federal Reserve allows the banks that are sitting, they become members of the Federal Reserve. So it's a big franchise. It's like being a Western, franchise of Best Western or McDonald's or any of them. Mm-hmm. You buy a franchise. Well, the franchise in the banking business allows you to create at least 10 times your deposit base. Out of thin air, loan it out. Well, there's no way that the little guy can compete against that. Meanwhile, you did mention something as a lead-in. People go to work and they pay taxes. Well, constitutionally wise, the Constitution says that you shouldn't have the withholding tax is really not subject to income tax. And as Aaron Russo did in his video From Freedom to Fascism, he's got them to admit that 100% of that money goes to interest to pay the Federal Reserve, the bank. So that makes you feel real good. All you're doing is working to pay interest to the bankers who created this firestorm that's happening to the collapse of the United States right now.
Right. Wow.
So ask me a question.
Well, who really runs the planet?
Well, it would be, if you want to come down to it, I would say today it's run by the BIS. That's the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland. The Swiss, as you know, have always been in the money game, and what they do is keep track of the exchange of different currencies at all times. They got computers generating that. And what happens is that family, which controls that, really comes back to the Rothschild Money Trust, if you want to look at it, which controls about 85% of the world's wealth. We have books on that stuff, so people can go into great detail on it. Mm-hmm. But it's okay to find out who owns it. We can give you the names and everything else. But at this point, there's nothing you can do about it, because not only do they control the country, they control the court system, they control the legal system, they control everything that you have right now, including the type of food that you eat and everything. Right. The individual who wakes up to all this starts to identify, well, wait a minute, they're trying to kill us by all means necessary, and that's basically what the goal is. So within the foods, you're basically eating poisons also. They have to reduce the population because we've run out of what we call ecological balance on the planet right now. We just have too many people on the planet. And the goal is to reduce it down to what the extraterrestrials say that the planet was engineered for, which was 500 million people. They actually built the monument. We don't want to have somebody up there that has the power to change things, and if they start to change things, they give them a program, we'll go ahead and put in a clone. Because we don't have anybody out there that won't do our bidding for what they have. I'm not going to tell you who they are, but you look at some of the world leaders right now, and look at their facial features. and then look at them, like, for instance, when they went into office and when they went out of office, and how did they talk, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody always talks about the stress that the job gives to them. And that's why they look so different from whenever they go.
Well, the stress breaks them down. That's the reason why my doctor says, my friend that treats them, says the biggest thing that they have a problem with, they have to come in and retune them up because stress will break them down. Now, with stress breaks the people down, right?
Yeah.
Ones that have a soul, you have stress, it becomes distress or it becomes disease after a while. Well, the clones don't have that thing, but because they're thinking beings, it's basically a computer that's running. The stress causes the short circuits in it.
They don't have any empathy, is what you're saying?
It's a real sci-fi, but it's for real. You and I are living in a real, what we call sci-fi zone, or an X-Files, as I say it.
Mm-hmm. That was good, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I have another question on here, actually coming from the internet. Let's see. Lewis Collins from Queensland, Australia. Let's see, George. He visited your site and had a question for you. What is happening in a place called Malini in Queensland, Australia? Do you have any idea, George?
No, in Australia, of course, that's where the Rockefellers built their huge underground facility in Pine Gap. That was for 50,000, the so-called elite. When things all break apart, they want to be in the southern hemisphere, and they've calculated that's a compound, and they finished that 10 years ago, 12 years ago, because they were all set, or a little longer. But they've got it running and everything that's going to be underground. Now, the reason why they picked the southern hemisphere, the plan is to get a nuclear, if you want to call it, winter in the northern hemisphere. When we get started, you watch Israel. When I'm telling people, if you see a bomb dropping in Israel, which is scheduled right now, a nuclear bomb, that'll begin World War III, which is planned. And that will spread to the United States. Russia has about 22,000 nuclear warheads. We have about 12,000. And rest assured, they're going to go. They didn't build them just sitting there to play around. They're going to shoot them off. Now, Russia's provided all the nuclear technology to Iran. And the last 6 months, or this last year, Russia's been pulling out all the nuclear scientists away from Iran, from Russia. I mean, the Iranians are still building everything, but they have all the stuff and the technology. North Korea has the ability to launch one of their missiles. And some of their missiles can put out, frankly, ELF rays, if you want to look at it, to basically bring our country to its knees instantly by shutting down all electronic devices instantly, including your car.
Wow. I have one question, George. Have you heard anything, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but the Gulf of Aden or something like that?
Yeah, the Gulf of Aden.
Aden, yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on over there? Do you know anything about that stuff?
Well, that's just the flow of oil. Oil is basically, if you want to look at it, that's the grease that's running the world, and we're running out of oil everywhere right now. And Mexico will be out of oil in 2 years. They're exporting 30% of their oil. Canada is our largest importer, but the Gulf of Aden is where all the oil flows from that's coming down to the rest of the world from the sweet oil they're coming over there, and that's a hot spot right now.
Well, if you look on like YouTube's and that, there's ships from all over, all different countries, and they're saying that there's some kind of a vortex there. The speculation is that whether it be ETs are coming in and out or will be, I don't know.
Well, remember, the ET situation is they can't interfere with this because there's 4 basic rules that they have, and that's in the handbook for the new paradigm. And I urge your listeners to go to my website, and you can download it for free, or you can read it for free.
And it's nohoax.com, is that right?
Right, and it's called the Handbook for the New Paradigm. And that it and the series of books is to awaken you to who and what you are, and also to give you a solution on an individual basis, and also be part of what we call the ground crew in order to, what you were asking and originally started out, is there anything we can do? And the information in the books is the only thing that I know, because other than the physical realities that we have on the planet, we have to start thinking outside of the box and come back to the spiritual nature of man and understand who and what we really are. And that's all spelled out in the handbook series. I have the handbook, Embracing Rainbow Becoming. Anyway, it's up on the website for free downloading. We're trying to get the information around the planet. There's many groups that are forming. They're called the ground crew.
Right.
All over the planet, everywhere.
Okay. So we did have another question here about free energy or engines that were that had didn't require any kind of energy to run. Is there like 0 point energy that you know of or anything like that?
Well, yeah, I'm with some friends that have little motors that run. They're just off of magnetics, just magnets. But remember, you're still using other materials, and you still have bearings and things that do it.
Right.
The ETs there's plenty of energy in the universe. It's the portability of the problem. In other words, how do we take it? The largest energy solution that we have right now on the planet is the sun, right?
Right.
In other words, we have solar power that's starting to come down.
Right.
The problem is, again, the scientists that are working on it should look at the ancient technologies that come down and how to divide light, which light really works and which one doesn't. In other words, you can have a light, but it doesn't make the plant grow, but you can get a certain frequency, and they call them grow lamps, don't they?
Right.
Grow lamps. So you know that there's a different frequency that works on doing that. Well, it's the same thing from the ancients. Like they used to say that the pyramids were all capped with certain things in order to bring in the energy that was fed there. How did they build these big cities, and how did they build them all? By using the energy of the universe. And the universe has got plenty of energy. What we are is nothing more than condensed light or condensed energy.
Right.
So the idea is, how do we get to that point? Now, we can have, there's small motors that are running around on light. For instance, little toys, as a matter of fact, little toy cars that just use the solar power to run the motor, to run the thing around. We have bigger ones, and they're on the internet. And there's plans, and on our site, on the nohoax.com, we have a DVD which has hundreds